The first sign was the clock. It ticked backwards. I should have left then, but I didn't, and now I don't know if I ever left that cabin. Or if I ever even existed at all. I needed a break from everything: work, people, the endless digital noise. The ad for the cabin was simple: secluded, silent, healing. There was no return address, just GPS coordinates. The owner responded with one sentence: stay a week, leave a lifetime better. I drove 8 hours into the Cascades. Cell signal dropped out 2 hours in. Roads gave way to gravel, then to dirt, then to a path barely wide enough for the wheels. The trees thickened around me like they were closing ranks. Shadows lengthened unnaturally even though it was only late afternoon. And then, the cabin, old but somehow untouched. Covered porch. Wooden shingles. A single light over the door. The key was left under a stone shaped like an eye. I stepped inside. It smelled like pine, ash, and something else I couldn't place. The clock above the fireplace ticked once, loudly, then fell silent. I unpacked. The silence was addictive. No phones, no voices, not even birds. Just the wind and creaking wood. Day 1, I walked the nearby trail. Trees towered above, unmoving, even in the wind. It felt watched. Day 2, I found my own footprints from the day before, but they were wrong. Deeper, older. Like someone heavier had followed in them. I started keeping a journal. Day 1, peace. Day 2, eeriness. But that night, something woke me. A scraping, like nails over wood. It came from under the floorboards. I tried to sleep. I dreamed of a mirror that didn't reflect me. Day 3, the trail was different. Trees that were once on the right now stood on the left. The sun rose in the wrong direction. I blamed poor sleep, but even my photos from the day before changed. The angle of light, the colors, the position of trees, all wrong. That night, I heard whispering. Not words. Just breath with intent. I found scratches on the inside of the windows. Leave later etched faintly into the fog on the mirror. A storm rolled in. Wind that held like it had a mouth. Rain that fell upward, hissing against the roof. The cabin shuddered with every gust. But the fireplace never went out. It burned. Blue. Lightning struck a tree just feet from the porch. The wood split open and something poured out. Not sap. Something dark. Something pulsing. I ran back inside. The door closed on its own. Locked. I slept with a knife I found in the kitchen drawer. It had dried blood on the handle. I found a room I hadn't noticed before. A small door behind the bookshelf. I had to crawl to enter. Inside, mirrors. Dozens. None showed my reflection. Each showed someone like me, but not me. One was older. One had missing eyes. One smiled without lips. One bled from the ears. All stood still. But one waved. I turned to leave. The door was gone. I screamed, clawed at the wall. When it opened again, it led to the forest. Night had fallen. I ran. Trees bent unnaturally. Some pulsed like they had veins. I passed a hiker. His face was blurred, shifting. He looked at me and screamed like he'd seen a ghost. I ran until I saw light. The cabin. Again. No matter which direction I went, I ended up back there. I collapsed on the porch. The stars above spun in circles. The moon flickered. On the porch sat a box of VHS tapes. Each labeled with dates. Some were dated decades ago. One had today's date. I played it on the old TV inside. Static. Then me, sitting in the chair. Watching the tape. Watching myself. Looping. The tape fast-forwarded. My hair grayed. My skin sagged. My eyes hollowed. I never moved. In the background, behind me on screen, someone else appeared. One of the versions from the mirror room. It smiled. My journal now had entries I hadn't written. Day 13, I no longer fear the cabin. It is part of me. Day 21, the forest is breathing. I match its rhythm. Day 34, I remember my real name now. I flipped to the last page. Day 72, a new one is coming. He thinks he's on day 1. That night, I dreamt of waking up in the forest. Cold, alone. No cabin. Just trees that whispered my name. I broke the mirror in the bathroom. Behind it, a tunnel. I crawled for what felt like hours. I emerged into a room, the same room I had just left. But the photos on the wall had changed. They showed me, throughout the years. Always at the cabin. Sometimes with others. Sometimes alone. Always decaying. I checked the fridge. My own head stared back. I set the cabin on fire. Every room. Every wall. But the flames were cold. They danced backward. The cabin breathed. Exhaled smoke. Then laughed. I ran. Again. The forest parted. I saw a car. My car. It started. The road appeared. I drove without looking back. I made it to town. Found a hotel. Told the clerk everything. He nodded. You're the third this week. Now, I wake up each night to the sound of ticking. My mirrors sometimes show a version of me, still in the cabin. I try not to look. Because I know. The cabin never burned. It simply moved, and one day soon, I'll get the urge to go back. And I won't remember why. But I'll follow the trail anyway. Because it remembers me.